guess I should add Bob to this.
Oh, to list, yeah,
Yeah,
to the agenda, yeah, thank you for that. You been performing anywhere? Huh? Have you been performing anywhere? Sorry. Sorry.
I have, let's see, we're going to be, is in December. We're gonna- Our friend, Andrea, and they also are, I don't know, probably spring calling. Something fun.
Yeah. Get ready for the interviews, for sure.
Yeah.
did you do the recording thing yet?
Yeah, we recorded, and we're kind of in the process of like going through it and maybe, yeah, like figuring out like what we want to do. Yeah, we might want to go back.
Uh,
Yeah, it's a hard process.
Yeah. At some point,
We are,
have to be.
by the way,
All right.
welcome, we're here for Complete Streets.
Yeah. All right, welcome everybody. We'll meeting order at 4:04. Guess we can do introductions. The guests that are here.
I'm Ellen Conrad.
Member of Complete Streets.
Member of Complete Streets. Sorry, yeah. Okay.
Meet you too.
Sorry, board, a member of Complete Advisor.
I'm Lynn Flynn, Director of Health and Wellness for the City of Kingston, and I'm the staff liaison for Complete Streets Advisory Council. She, her pronouns.
Rose Quinn, she, her pronouns, member of Complete Streets Advisory, member of the Ulster County Traffic Safety Board, member of Safe Paths Ulster, and regional representative for Families for Safe Streets.
I'm John Grosspool, and I chair the committee. And I guess we can start with our guests. Good.
Ginny,
Yeah.
you want to just introduce yourself, Ginny?
Oh, I'm sorry, it's Ginny of 50 City Kingston Police.
I'm the environment city of Kingston resident. Case to Bill.
Mike Seville.
Yeah.
We live in town, so we.
On the street,
Okay.
Would you like an agenda? Do you want
I
to?
think I have one in front of me, yeah.
I'll take one. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, I guess we can move right into guest and public comments.
Pardon me?
We can move right into guests and public comments.
Oh, ready? Are we the only guests?
I'm gonna make a comment after you.
Oh, the ladies, other ladies first.
Okay. All right, so tonight, the Common Council Finance and Audit Committee, at tonight's Finance and Audit Committee this evening, I think it's at 6 o'clock, maybe at 6:30. Ruth Ann Devitt Frank, the Director of Grants Management, will be introducing the Common Council to a grant. I thought it would be important for this committee to be aware of that. It's a proposed project that was just made public, as far as I know, in the communication and draft resolution for tonight's Finance and Audit meeting. It's for a $6,250,000 pedestrian safety project, for which the administration plans to apply for Transportation and Alternatives Program funding. And so the communication says that the Transportation Alternatives Project will improve the safety of pedestrians at a number of intersections throughout the city, and the proposed resolution says that the proposed resolution authorizes the mayor to file an application to the New York State Department of Transportation for Transportation Alternative Program funds of $5 million for the pedestrian safety project. The matching funding requirements of $1,250,000 are expected through, it could be anything, in-kind donation, force account, bond, other grants, and private contributions. And I wanted to just say that the Complete Streets Advisory Council as an opportunity to inform the Common Council that they will be expecting the project leads and the city engineer to be keeping the street design standards of the new form-based code at the forefront of the design process, and that any conceptual plans shared in the grant application should reflect such. The draft resolution does not reference the street design standards, and language regarding such could be added without delaying the application if it's added this evening at the committee meeting. So it's an opportunity, if you feel that it's appropriate, to request that right from the very beginning, that that's understood, that you guys would be expecting to see the street design standards followed in this project. This is one of the first things that the city will be doing since August 2nd, when the street design standards were adopted. And so the chair is Rennie Scott Childress, who was a one-time liaison to this committee. Bob Dennison is also on that committee. And so the other ones are Michelle Hirsch, Steve Shabbat, and Drew Andrews. So thank you.
We had a couple of other folks come in while time speaking. Give us a quick intro.
Paul Stankus, CSAC member.
I'm John Schulteis, city engineer.
Okay, thank you. And
And what?
you're up.
Okay, well, glad to see you, John. We're here with concerns as to what's happening to our property on the corner of Elmendorf and Foxhall. Let me say up front, we're extremely disappointed that no notice had been given to us for the prior meeting, which I conveyed to you last time we met. And you did apologize, which led me to believe that we should have gotten notice, to be honest. So we want to just make sure that we're not missing anything, and we want to have feedback as to what's going on, because we were never informed of any changes. It looks like there may be some eminent domain on the property, and we feel very strong that we should have, at the very minimum, been notified of this project back in, I think it was 2019 or 2020, I'm not sure, but there was another meeting concerning this project, which us or none of our neighbors knew anything about. So we're here in an attempt to be as informed as possible as to what's the developments are and where we stand on this project that Kingston is starting and doing. And just a side note, I mean, we've been on that property 20 years. I grew up in town, so we have a lot vested in the community.
Which project is that?
That's the Flatbush.
Flatbush? Okay.
I think you guys, there was a headline on this meeting, Flatbush and Foxhall. I'm not sure if it was that part of the project, but that's why we're here. So we're here to get as much information, and we have an opportunity to present some feedback, not only from us, but also to inform some of our neighbors who really have no idea as to what's going on.
Off the top of my head, I don't remember the timetable, but there have been public meetings, presentations and so forth in the past on this, and feedback mechanisms in place. Do you recall the timeline on that? I don't know offhand.
Sure, yeah. I mean, do you want to go into this now? You're the chair here.
Well, just put a quick rundown on, like when the public comments and public presentations were.
Right, yes.
It's been quite a while.
It has.
Well, the thing was that, excuse me, John, let me interrupt. Just a point that I would like to make is that we were not informed of the previous meeting. I guess it was one of the early.
How were the people informed?
Well, no, our section of the project was not informed. I don't know how the other-
And that is true. Again, you're the chair. If you want to make this an agenda item, you can. And I'm
Yeah,
happy
we
to
can spend
speak
a few
about it,
minutes
but
on it.
yeah. Okay, so, yes, and so their particular property is at the end of Elmendorf, where currently it's a five-way intersection. As part of our project, as kind of I won't call it a late change because it's not like we're going into construction tomorrow, but a developing change. It is being proposed to make that last block of Elmendorf Street a dead-end street and install a turnaround. That would require some right-of-way from their property. The reason you were not informed earlier is that that was a late idea. And that being said, I can tell you big picture on this project. We are still not yet ready to start a right-of-way acquisition process, a process which will take a minimum of 18 months to comply with the federal aid requirements. After that, we can start to think about building the project. So it's hard to believe it's almost 2024, but construction on that is not before 2026.
So that's fine, but hopefully we're gonna live longer than that, so.
I hope so.
That timeframe, although it's expensive, it's not a deterrent as far as us wanting to get the information and more importantly, have potentially some feedback on the project since it does affect us
Absolutely.
directly. And it's going to change the value of our home. It's going to make our home, whereas now we have a bit of grass and a hedges up, it's going to put the traffic within 10 feet of our walls. And that
Our main living area.
and that's disturbing and concerning. And there are some other issues. I apologize if I'm not following the rules of a meeting. I don't know how these things work. I'm just appreciate the time to talk and I don't, I'm sure there's more involved in this, but I do want to underscore what's going on here so I can be as informed as possible and possibly affect anything that I may be able to affect, and my neighbors. My neighbors are concerned as well. There's several reasons which we don't have to get into now, but do you have anything to add, honey?
We'll take that under advisement. Thank you.
Can I ask you a question? I foiled for the any design documents produced so far, back in January of this past year, and I was told that they were not, subject to FOIL because they weren't complete. It said, any design documents produced so far, all are in draft format, and at this time, and not subject to FOIL. So I wasn't able to find the draft, design documents.
You've heard what I'm talking about?
Yes, the safe and accessible Flatbush and Foxhall.
Okay,
Almost a year ago, I asked for just the drafts I wanted, and I was told that I wasn't allowed to have them until they were complete. I found that personally quite disturbing. How are we supposed to keep up with this project? So we don't get to know about it until it's complete? Is it complete now? When is it complete? Are there any other opportunities to weigh in? Are all of the, is it actually, I thought that also it needed some more funding. So what are the next steps with the design? And what is the holdup with getting the public to be informed with this process for the last year?
So I came here to talk about a different project entirely, but I will give an overview of this. Project has languished, no doubt, in my office. I have a vacancy in my office. The previous project manager departed, and I've had other projects further along in development that I've had to focus on. That being said, this project has been subject to internal staff review multiple times. During that time, those are draft documents, and our policy is to not release those to the general public until they reach some level of agreement at the staff level. We're still making enough changes that it would not be helpful to release things that might alarm people that might ultimately not get built at all. So there will be, to answer your question, will there be future opportunities to comment on this project? Absolutely, yes.
Well, are things being decided that are being firmed up that at that point, some of it just won't be able to be commented on?
To some extent, yes. I don't have with me the history of all the public involvement, but there have been at least there have, of course, have been PAC meetings, and there was at least one a meeting advertised to the general public so far, and there will be more.
PAC meetings are public meetings.
That's true.
Just to expand a little bit on what we're talking about, the initial meeting that we did not attend because we didn't know about it, there was 3 proposals drafted, which showed you're aware of that. And they were all interesting and they all had merit. But the part that caught my attention, and outside of finding out about this by accident, obviously I'm very concerned with it, but there was a time frame set for feedback from the residents, from the people that it affected. And that was, we never knew anything about that, so obviously we didn't have a chance to give any feedback. Then I contacted John, and then we found out that there was a 3rd proposal, which was far worse for us than any of the previous 3. The previous 3 didn't look too bad, and there was I could see the benefits, and I could also see how it would minimally affect our neighborhood in our corner there. Whereas the 4th one just changed the whole dynamic of that spot. So that I just wanted to, I don't know if you guys knew about it. I'm not sure who's who does what, but that's what where I'm at and where we're at.
Well, the other problem with that project is this 4th one with the turnaround is there is a house second from the end on the other side from our house that has 4, 2, and 3 bedroom apartments in it. Once you put that turnaround there, I don't know where they're gonna park.
So
Are they allowed to park in that turnaround? Where are they gonna park? There's no parking now. You've taken their parking away.
and also,
Now it won't be a turnaround because it'll be parked on by those people. That's gonna be a problem. So there's a lot of issues because I don't know that you knew that there was
No,
this big house with,
John, it's but we're double over our welcome.
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, we need to move on.
This
That's
wasn't
it.
on the agenda.
But please understand that this is the right place to bring your comments, so thank you
Okay.
very much.
Thank you. Thank you for
Yeah,
listening.
yeah, thank you.
And I think that's
John
all
said
we
thank
have to
you.
say anyway, so thank you.
I don't know what the next thing is, so we're just gonna start coming to these meetings and talk to you guys. We've got a great community.
Okay. Thank you.
If nobody objects, we can let John go next on Clinton Avenue. And he doesn't have to stay for a whole meeting.
Right. Well, I thought I was coming to speak on a very specific aspect of the project, but I'm also prepared to speak more generally on it. So the thing that Emily asked me to come hear about, I think, is specifically the mid-block crossing at Main Street at Clinton. Is that right? So-
It's been a few minutes.
I thought it was the removal of the no right turn on Redson.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna defer on that because I did not do that.
Okay,
Wait, can we clarify what we're talking about?
You didn't remove the right.
I did not do that.
Wait, you're talking, wait, are you jumping to Albany and Clinton?
Okay.
Is that what you're talking about?
there was turning from Albany onto Clinton, a sign that said no right turn certain hours, and I want to say it was roughly the midday hours, right? DPW removed that sign recently, as directed by the mayor.
Oh.
Is that part of it?
Okay, that's all that I know about it.
Okay, and so we can go back to the mid-block crossing.
Okay. Mid-block crossing.
Can you tell us what mid-block crossing?
Yeah, it's, Clinton Avenue of Main Street, which currently has a stop sign in one direction, well, in the through movements, one direction has a stop sign, the other direction does not. In our upcoming project, the one stop sign will be removed. There will be improved signals at, there will be an improved signal at Clinton at Albany and a new signal in the Westbrook John Clinton intersection. And the location that we're talking about now is about 250 feet from that new signal and about 350 feet from the Clinton Albany Pearl intersection that'll have an improved signal. And so as part of this project, we will be deleting the current mid-block crossing in favor of safer crossings at the new signal and or improved signal. That's the reason.
So people are gonna have to walk that entire block if they want to cross, because there's a lot of people who live right
Sure.
there. I mean, I'm there a lot. I see people crossing all the time right there. It's a very heavily used crossing.
Which crossing are you talking about?
Main of Clinton.
Oh, okay. That could have been block.
No, it really wouldn't be a mid-block because there
Main
is.
Street's
Yeah,
It is
so
mid-block.
calling it mid-block is kind of in the zone.
Can you define mid-block?
Mid-block crossing is any crossing made without benefit of a stop sign, traffic signal
But it's got a stop sign.
in one direction.
Is there
If
any
it was
way,
always stopped, you're right, it would not be mid-block, but as it exists today, it is a mid-block.
But you said any stop sign, there is a stop sign.
But it's not always stopped.
So that's what defines, so there's a two-way stop,
Right.
right? But there's not, so that's what the change is. Yeah,
Right, so,
yeah.
so is there any way to implement that and then study it and see how it's going and be able to sort of then, because that's sort of the
Right.
problem that we run into a lot, if something's done, it's like, oh, we can't ever
Well,
do it.
so if there was a, let's say, you know, where the locksmith and that,
I'm sorry, Tanya.
Sorry.
I'm just thinking like the building where the locksmith is, and I think like, there's a few offices there, yeah. Yeah, let's say there was a huge destination there, a school or, you know, shopping center was right there. Clearly we'd be doing a crossing there, because there's a clear destination that the only way to get to it, the only logical way is to go straight across. But I think if you take, say, I'm walking from Governor Clinton to, somewhere in Uptown, somewhere in the Stockade, right? Along that route, I have multiple choices of where to cross. And as part of this project, we're providing, the full suite of safety measures at dedicated, signalized crossings.
I guess my concern is that people are just gonna cross anyway, and if the farther they have to go, the more they'll just cross.
Well, that's why I mentioned the distances, which are 350 feet in one direction and 250 feet in the other direction. You know, those are, you know, not great, but they're not half a mile or even a quarter mile or even an eighth of a mile.
But there's a lot of people with disabilities who live right there, a lot of people in the
So-
row housing, and there's actually a well held right there. So there's a lot of people who like ask
Right.
them to walk an extra city block basically, it's too hard to.
So what I was saying was, is there a way to sort of then, implement it? We put out some cameras, sort of, when you do the ped bike master plan, you get the sort of desired paths of people walking. Can you do anything like that afterwards to see, okay, this isn't working? Can we then put in the crosswalk?
So there's language in the MUTCD about, an engineering study to establish a mid-block crossing, which that engineering study for that location doesn't currently exist, to my knowledge. Yes, what you would tend to do is, if what I'm saying we do isn't working and there's still frequent crossings there now without benefit of any striping or anything, there are changes that happen. There could be a huge origin or destination established, in that.
Yeah, there's currently on the corner, there's an old gas station or something.
Right, something could come in there and that, but again, now that location is gonna be signalized that you've just mentioned, so, yeah, I think what we're dealing with is mid-block crossings around Kingston were established over time without the required engineering studies. This is an attempt to correct that past practice that was done, without the full suite of safety measures. And so, one of the problems with mid-block crossings is a false sense of safety, right? By painting it, we're implying this is somehow a safe place to cross. I didn't bring that information tonight. I could look that up.
Because, I agree that where people are hit, we have to definitely prioritize those intersections before anything else. But if nobody's been hit there, it's kind of hard to make the argument, is this for the benefit of pedestrians?
Sometimes we don't look at the specific location, but rather other similar locations. You get a statewide average per million entering vehicles, number of crashes you would expect. And then unfortunately, you might get 10, it might have a crash rate. You can generalize and say this type of intersection, well, the lack of all-way stop is troubling in one way already. That's already a compromise there. But anytime you do a non-standard thing, that lack of all-way stop is one, mid-block crossing is another. It's associated with a higher crash rate. Whether that one has experienced it yet or not, you can say over time it's going to.
Are we doing that with other intersections that are making the predictions?
Yeah,
Yeah, okay,
absolutely.
that's interesting. What about adding another stop sign though, and isn't that a simple
Yeah,
solution?
well, the reason it doesn't have one is related to the removal, right, as well as the congestion problems on that.
Backing up.
Well, I just want to remind the complete streets advisory that congestion problems really aren't our problem. Just so
Yeah.
I'm sorry, please.
congestion problems are really not a complete street advisory concern. That's not our priority.
I was gonna say, I would think that
Pretty
they
well
would be
on the
considered.
list.
Well,
It
but
depends.
I think if it's a level, we're thinking about level of service, I don't really think level of service is really appropriate to be using within a city where we have to be prioritizing pedestrians, cyclists, people outside of cars. Even if it causes congestion.
Well, I want to make sure that I'm understanding this. So you're saying that congestion is not a priority.
Not for complete streets.
I gotta disagree with that,
Okay.
but, because I think that they all should be taken into consideration whenever we make any kind of decision.
But I don't mean to, but I'm basing this on what, what the people who created complete streets and continue to revise basically.
Well, I don't think that they took congestion completely off the table, but,
No, but it's not a high priority.
well, I just.
Okay, we don't have to
Yeah,
do
Sharon,
it, we really
on track.
could do this one. but-
Related to that.
I just wanted to say, I do find a little bit concerning that we are okay asking pedestrians to walk extra mile, extra feet, but we are not okay, sorry, and we're not putting that, like, we're worried about a driver spending 5 extra seconds for a stop sign, or even like 5 extra minutes because of quote unquote congestion that only happens a few minutes during the day. And yet we're still like asking pedestrians, some of them with disabilities, to walk extra feet. That to me, it's really concerning. I just want to point that out.
Can somebody give me an example of an origin and a destination? And then I can tell you how many feet it added, if any, because I think if you're starting, say, at the roundabout, you want to go to anywhere in Uptown, right? This doesn't add any feet to your trip.
And you're sort of guaranteeing that the ones they do cross are safe. Whereas you sort of are saying you can't guarantee their safety at this one, so you don't want to recommend it.
Correct.
And the same thing goes for coming up out of the plaza. They need to get over to Main Street, across Westbrook, instead of making the mid-block.
How about going to the coffee shop to the Keymaker? Keymaker.
From where?
The Uptown Coffee to the Locksmithery.
Walking and.
Okay, well, yes, that adds more feet, but how many people are making that trip?
Or walking to the county.
So we could, in theory, provide a crosswalk from every business to every other business. 300 crosswalks up and down
I
Broadway.
just, you know,
Right.
instead to give examples, that's what we're doing.
And is it really a mid-block crossing if there's an intersection? I mean,
Yes,
so maybe make the distinction, because that's not really
it
what a lot of
has,
people
it has a
think about.
specific definition, as I use the term mid-block crossing, as engineers use it.
So I think it's important to remember that there's actually a street, it's not really a mid-block crossing and what, like, the lay person might think. That it's an actual intersection as well.
So
I guess we're all set. Do you have anything else you wanted to add about?
Well, the Complete Streets Advisory Council sent you comments.
Yes, and I'm working on that.
Yeah, do you want to give them just
There were some good comments in there, actually, giving me thoughts to think on, so thanks for sending those. I will have a written response for you in time, probably in a matter of days. And then if you would like me to come back and go over any of them with you, perhaps at your next meeting, I'd be happy to do that.
Thank you.
All right, thanks.
All righty, I guess we'll move on back to the agenda. We had that bylaws discussion, was that last month? I lost track of one week.
Well, it was 2 months ago because
2
every
months.
other month we do the sidewalk task force. Since I'm starting here, so I want to say that we have a first stop at 5:30. There's a couple of other meetings happening tonight
Okay.
that I have to go to. So I'll start us off by saying I drafted just a quick overview why we're talking about this. Complete Streets Advisory Council doesn't seem to have bylaws, so I picked up the bylaws from the Live Walk Kingston Commission, and I picked up the copy from the, I picked up the requirements from the resolutions that, somehow affected what I would call the rules of procedure. So some of those things we cannot change, the ones that say Resolution 196, 2010, we can't change that language, that was in the resolution. But the things that I say are from Live Walk Kingston are very editable. And I send this out to council members. It's a Google document. I didn't see any comments or edits in there, but that doesn't mean that we still couldn't do another round of comments and edits if you'd like. I added, since the last time you saw this, we had remembered that we wanted to potentially add a suggestion process for letters of support, so I put this in there, that's open for feedback and edits. So really the call to action is to provide feedback and edits, so that we can eventually pass this rules of procedure.
I'm not sure if it's appropriate to bring this up now, but I saw at the end there, construction, and it reminded me, I was thinking this when we were talking just now about Elmerdorf and how in the new draft, or I guess the new zoning, there's a thing about how we're supposed to be consulted, I guess, when there are new streets built. Is a change to a street that is sort of making it a dead end, something that would qualify? Like, I'm not sure, construction.
No, this is more about is if it doesn't go along with resolutions 117 and 196, the resolutions shall govern. So construction is just, I don't know why that language is.
Oh, okay, sorry. It's very,
Yeah.
all right, I'm coming in from.
This is just meeting construction.
Yeah,
Exactly. Yeah. But this does not include, if you wanted a specific process for complete streets about how so, of course, and John Schulteis, you can correct me if I'm wrong. My understanding of the zoning is that if the redesign of a streetscape is deemed different enough that it gets pushed to complete streets, you would come complete streets to present
Yeah.
why it doesn't fit with zoning, and then you would have just, you guys would ask
Only,
why it
it's only if it's
doesn't fit with zoning.
outside the zoning.
Right, so I think that, my understanding is you have to follow the zoning, and then if it's for some reason it doesn't, it comes here. There's no specific process about how you all vote on that in here, so that's something if you wanted to, but I suspect you probably want the same process as you would make any other motion. I don't know why you would want to make that different.
I mean, it's a little big deal, but
Wasn't that related to new construction?
Yeah, I think it's very, I'll be honest, it's very clear what we do in the case of a completely new street from new development. I don't have a clear understanding yet of how the code applies to varying levels, degrees of street modification, right? And you could say, okay, we're moving the sidewalk 1 foot to make room for trees. Does that, what does that bring in? How much of the street? There's a lot of projects we do that are limited to just the intersection itself. It's not a linear project, right? I think it's gonna need to play out through some examples of what gets triggered by what level of modification to an existing street.
Can I ask a question? Are we looking at the new legislative changes as we're going? Like, would this have anything? So our scope has changed. We can look at more projects. So if we compare that to these new rules.
I'm not sure what you're asking. You mean by legislative changes?
So complete streets advisories now can look at more projects, like they've been given, so the threshold has been lowered. So for example, there's paving projects and things like that, that we could be considering. Like this just happened last year and now we're pushing for implementation. That's the next, the governor did sign this. So we've expanded our powers. So based on that, is any of this also part of that?
I don't know how does that apply to rules of procedure?
Well, that's what I'm asking, I don't know. I mean, is this have anything to do with broadening our scope of what we're looking at? That's all.
This is a document that suggests sort of how this council runs its meetings,
Okay, that's all I wanted.
how members become voting members, what are the roles of officer, the officers, what the meeting time, the quorum. So Rose, if you think there's anything in that new legislation that should be added, please.
No. I mean, that's exactly what I was asking. Like is this an administrative document just for us? Or is this something about broadening what it is that we're looking at in terms of the projects themselves?
I think this is just strictly.
Okay, yeah, and forgive me for not looking at it ahead of time. I did not look at.
I think this kind of came up because
Yeah.
we get information that people want to comment on, and there was no set mechanism as to how we commented, when the comments were made, and that's when it kind of came up.
Okay,
I
thank you.
think this originated with the letters of support thing,
Yes, right.
Okay.
because sometimes, we need this afternoon, so we don't have, the luxury of going through a meeting and discussing it. And we need to take action and this document set guidelines for.
As to what the chair could do, what the committee could do, but.
I also, so I like rules of procedure that I use for the Live Kingston Commission, because when new people, it's also can be a little bit of an onboarding document. When people express interest in being on that board, then they can read through this document and sort of have an idea of what to expect. How it is that they make a motion, how is it that the meeting might be run. So I think a rule of procedure or guidance document, I think, can be helpful here.
Is there I've had so many things, I'm not sure if I've got this screwed up on my, but in here, does it describe what our role is in this, for the city?
Yes. So definition and purpose.
Yep.
Complete streets are comprehensive integrated roads. Do you want me to read it now?
No,
Or just know that
I'm
it's there?
talking about it in terms of, we advise the city. We're not a lobby group that's going out to, talk to, whoever, state senators or the governor or anything else. We advise the city, and then like the mayor or the common council would make the contacts with these other entities.
I don't know if it says that specifically.
We might need
We might
clarification.
need clarification on that.
Yeah.
We
So,
can look at, we can explore,
Yeah, well, I'm wondering if we should pull that enabling, our role out of the enabling document, if we're gonna use this as an onboarding type, tool. That would make it clearer to folks what our role is.
I mean, honestly, I put this together 2 months ago. I don't remember exactly what it says in that section.
Yeah, that's about when I read it.
So it sounds like there's still a few more edits that we want to consider.
Yeah.
So it sounds like we're not gonna vote on it tonight, which is fine. So, John, you and I, why don't we think about adding that content?
Okay,
That also gives this council another month or two to review it and add edits.
Mhm.
And then maybe the next time that we meet, not as sidewalk, we consider if someone would like to pass a motion to adopt it.
you send that around again so everybody's current.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. Anything else you wanted to mention on that? Or should we move on?
I'm good.
Okay.
I'll next time.
I do have a question about, Fox All Flat. As a quote representative from Complete Streets to that group, the last time, we haven't met in quite a while. So all I just want to be clear of is that this new fourth recommendation came up after our last group meeting.
Yes,
Just want to be clear because I was kind of surprised too. What they were saying. I know about the first three. We went through a lot with that. That was when you met Greg. My understanding was because of funding, we had kind of stopped.
more staff capacity
Okay.
funding over the last, say, 2 years.
Okay, that's fine.
Um,
But there hasn't really been any public.
That's not recently, getting the band back
Okay,
together.
all right, okay. That's kind of what I was gonna say, well, as kind of a member of the band, nobody told me. So, okay, all right, fine.
We'll move on to sidewalks. Brian, want to give us,
I think Emily can probably give a quick overview of the most recent discussion. Emily, would you mind doing that?
I don't know. The sidewalk task force met at last month's meeting. We reviewed a draft white paper that was presented. We asked for feedback, or Brian and Kristen asked for feedback on it. We clarified that the sidewalk task force is a task force of the Complete Streets Advisory Council and not subject to open meeting law. Also, I'll just point out that the Complete Streets Advisory Council is not subject to open meeting law, but I think that we've decided collectively as a value to try to treat it as a public meeting, and we'll publish the agenda and everything and live stream it as if it was subject to it, but that the task force is not, and that we'd like to have the space to work on that and then present a more final draft to this council in a public way so that people can review it before you vote on it. What else do I have to say? Who am I forgetting?
The official name change?
Oh, yeah, we just clarified that it's the sidewalk financing task force. So we're not defining how the sidewalks will be constructed or fixed. We're just talking about how to finance sidewalk construction and improvements.
And it was our original request from the mayor,
From the mayor.
was that we come up with a funding mechanism to see how this could.
And there's a number of options presented in the paper as well, it's not just a single sort of idea.
Just as an update to the people that were in that, I sent out a doodle poll today for another meeting in between now and December. So we'll probably have 2 more sidewalk task force meetings. And then our goal was to have a final white paper to give the mayor, I think, January 2024. Am I getting that date right?
That's right.
Really, school zones, Bob Dennison advised that the Common Council has asked engineering and DPW to look at that, see what could possibly be done with it. I don't know if did they give you guys a timeline or just a general request?
General request at this time.
Okay.
For consistency around school zones.
Yeah. Okay.
For design of it, or sorry, what do you say? For the design of it?
We put a request into the city to consider creating consistent school zones in terms of, signage, crosswalk markings, et cetera. And the Common Council passed that on to DPW and engineering for their feedback on. And our request also included the notion of including funding so that they could actually do this if we can come up with a good solution. That's all I've got on the school zones at this point. Chief, did you have anything for us today?
I did not. Just want to make sure if there's anything out there that can be brought to my attention, I can hopefully fix before it gets worse. And, but
You guys still doing the flyers?
Yeah, I was gonna ask too, the sort of fake tickets.
yeah, so at this point, we've kind of admittedly moved into more just the enforcement part of it. I think we talked about it, trying to do like an education and component. We are somewhat limited with how many times we can do it. And it is because of staffing. We're currently down 7 positions in the police department. We're looking to replace them all. They're just waiting on the civil service test list to get certified. And we're going to move forward with that as soon as possible. But so we're doing it on an overtime basis the best we can. But yeah, I've instructed the officers that at this point, education, we've done what we can. There's been a lot of warning tickets handed out, a lot of the flyers. I can't tell you that that's always the case. Sometimes an officer will find it's easier just to give a warning than to go through the hassle. But I think it's been better. Sometimes I just kind of walk up the block and look. People aren't scooting around the parking spots anymore that I can see. But there's always going to be those that always try to get around. So, but yeah, we're definitely in the enforcement program.
Okay, thank you.
Can I ask, there's been some concerns once again about police vehicles on the linear park trail. And there's just been a lot of concern about that. Like, it's a non-motorized trail. And there are police officers who have bicycles and are on foot. Is there some reason why there are, if we actually have people who might potentially be unfortunately passed out and there's a car moving on that very narrow trail, like it really poses a pretty serious safety issue. So, legislator Erner was on the trail when there were police officers in a car there. He was very disturbed by it, and lots of other people are too. So, I understand that people might be in an emergency situation. This did not seem to be the case. So if we could at least consider maybe not sending cars down the trail, I think that would be for a community point of view and also a safety point of view, that would be very helpful. So thank you.
Yeah, the issue that we're having is certainly similar to what the getting them out in the traffic enforcement part of it is, once they leave the vehicle, they're not mobile anymore. So it takes them a while, and we do have a heavy call volume with the staff we have. So admittedly, it's probably easier for them in their minds just to get on there. Let's make sure everyone's doing what they're supposed to be doing and keep driving. In case we get a call, we can keep going. But I will bring that to their attention. Absolutely. It's certainly easier when on bikes. We encourage that. One, I think it's more of a personal connection with bike or walking. But again, because of staff, we try to keep these officers as mobile as possible. But I'll make sure we address it.
Thank you. This last thing, I think it was an email from Gustavo related to, reporting things on 311, including the line of sight problems with the brush. And you had created remember if it was a spreadsheet or a Word document. I don't remember what the format was, that we were going to track these things so that we could then go back and see if the 311 reports were being acted upon. And apparently nobody has used that.
Right.
And so we don't have the mechanism to track what's happening with 311. And if there's a pattern of not even investigating it, then, we could, have documentation that,
Right.
these were reported, we haven't seen any action, can we find out?
Yeah, I
going
mean,
on?
when you do it through one, you get a response to it. So, I mean, I think it's really just, at this point, just an educational sort of thing. If you see brush, I've done it, across from the Y there, the grass is going crazy, and I had to, cut them down. They did a great job. But it's just the sort of thing where I think maybe just, I know that in every mayor newsletter or, the weekly newsletter that goes out there, at the end, there's always a 311 thing. Maybe we could put a thing in there.
Well, this was for our use, really, so that we could, have a pulse.
Yeah. I mean, I know we
What's
talked about
going
data
on.
dump ages ago. It's like a year, if not more ago.
Yeah.
I don't think we ever got one, or we're gonna,
Got a
a
one.
data dump from 311?
I presented that report to you all. Remember when
Okay.
And we added some categories or. But
Where can we
this,
find that?
So,
What, the report that I pulled?
yeah.
I don't think that I made it public.
I guess my question is, what do you want, John?
well, I think it was a spreadsheet you created. The idea was that we would have a record of what was reported. And if we're not seeing something that's done with it, we, as a council, would know that.
Mm-hmm.
Where if you individually report something on 311, only you would know.
Right.
So if we've got the community putting things in 311 and us, and nothing's happening, then we have to try to figure out why.
Okay.
And if we are tracking where there's these line of sight problems and problems with walking down the sidewalks because there's
Mm-hmm.
a forest growing on it. We've got a way to identify where there's deficiencies in the process. And
Okay, I mean,
if we can revive that. and
yeah, so I mean,
Start using it, I think we could have, maybe addressed Gustavo's concerns. Is he still on or did he leave? Still there?
I'm still here. I think when I raised this up, it was not just for the sign. I think the issue is that when there was vegetation blocking the sidewalk or other stuff like that, there was no category to report it to. I do gotta say, I reported one stop sign that it was being covered by a tree branches on Downs, and I think like within the week they fixed it, which was great. They did a great job. I think on that note, it's just more about like being more proactive and not waiting. Like there is city people, like DPW people that probably drove by there weekly. It's like not waiting for a citizen reporting that, like, I feel like the city should be more proactive, but I think my main concern when I brought this up is that if there is vegetation blocking the sidewalk, there was no category to put that on 311.
I
Here,
thought we had,
we can explore it together if you want, so.
yeah, I thought we had
I've
fixed
done
that.
it. So I've done it and it's been taken care of, so
Yeah.
something worked. I've been able to sort of, pigeonhole.
Yeah. Well, I think I've done it a couple of times, and they usually reply to me saying, "Oh, this was forwarded to the right person."
Right. I think.
Yeah, sidewalk cleaning is the category, sorry.
So there's street and sidewalk issues, and then there's.
Is sidewalk cleaning that a same?
Here's
Well,
I mean, you can then put a description, so you can say,
Yeah, sidewalk cleaning, yep.
Yes, see, they focus it on snow removal.
Yeah, that's what I would think when I hear sidewalk cleaning.
well, then you can even add a photo, like, and then you
Yeah.
take it out the grass just growing wild, wherever it might be, or.
Yeah, then it'd be my house because I have to use private window.
It's more reactive than proactive in terms of what's getting done, because you just said that, this particular stop sign, people drive by it, you called it in and it was taken care of, but your question is how come they just didn't fix it or take care of it to begin with,
Right.
right? And I'm thinking that probably basically because of staffing issues, it's more reactive than proactive, because there's nobody out doing
And that
code
was,
enforcement.
yeah, that was the street light thing too. Nobody was looking
Right,
until.
right.
Started bombarding them with.
With street lights.
Okay, I know, like I said, this is in the mayor's weekly newsletter, but I don't know how many people around town actually know about 311. And I do feel like if more people did, then it would, people would think like, oh, there's a thing that's annoyed me my entire life, like I'm gonna do a 311 request in about it.
Yeah,
It'll be taken care of in a week, normally this stuff's done pretty quickly.
the Friday of the burning at Kingston, I saw 3 street light outages near Washington. Early
Was it to be
afternoon.
old timey? No.
And, yeah, I reported them on 311. And that was Friday. I think it was Monday. I got response back that they've already been out and looked. One was a bad fuse. And I think the other 2, if memory serves me correctly, were wiring problems that they had to trace down. There was a ground problem on one. Can't remember the details of the other. But, they did immediately respond to that. I know there was vegetation in there somewhere because I reported it one time, but I don't remember where. Maybe that's the problem. We can't find it again.
Well, I mean, but in terms of just making people aware, I mean, that could easily be, an educational campaign, some signs, like in strategic locations.
Well, then, I mean, I
Tree
do.
issues.
Then you're gonna block stuff.
I was gonna say, I don't want to then be the bait of whoever is against these things, and then they're gonna be like, those
Totally.
exact people, they now
Stickers.
resulted in a 500%. increase in
But you get a
freeload.
fine for that, so.
There's tree issues, which says tree falling across roads, tree falling across
Tree
sidewalks, tree
pruning,
pruning,
trim.
and trimming. So it's.
Yeah, so that would be, if the tree was blocking a stop sign, I think, traffic might get someone's attention more quickly than tree issues. I don't know if they're ranked priority wise or something, when they go to someone's inbox.
But it sounds like all the categories you're talking about all get sent to DPW, so
Okay,
it's not like it would go to different
right.
offices
Yeah,
and different
those
laws.
types
So
of all.
I think no matter whatever category you put it in, probably the same routing person to that department gets it.
Okay. So I guess the question is, what are next steps with this one?
I don't know how to advertise. Is it an advertising? Is it awareness?
I think that would be great to somehow,
I'm not sure what we
What
can
about like
do.
a spot on Radio Kingston or something? Hey, you have an issue with, they run those regular,
a little
and they're
public service
free.
announcement kind of thing.
just like every couple of months, send them a little PSA. Hey, is your street light out?
Right.
Is your stop sign down?
The
use
mayor still
311.
does a show, right?
Well, if you wouldn't, it's not even going on the show. You would contact Ida, who's the program director there, and then she does a regular PSA.
20-second thing and just drop in between shows.
I've done that with changes in a lot of car seats. I've done that with, informing, the cyclists and drivers that their rights were on the road. So like, and they'll just run it. And they actually really like that. Like, they like to have these little blurbs. Just ready to go.
Who's in charge of 311? Not entirely sure how to answer that. IT put it together, and I think then the tickets go to different departments. I don't know.
Right, okay, this is not, I'm thinking of different kind of system. That's all.
I mean, if the mayor did that, like, there's just a regular running spot, hey, use 311.
Or also just informing people that there's an app, like I'm sure people call 311, but I've never even done that. I use the app and people know they have it on their phone, they can just.
Would you guys like to suggest content? You could write up what you'd like to suggest to someone.
Usually what you do is send it to Ida and you give her the suggestion, like, this is what we want to say. And she's an expert at breaking it down into like a 15-second blurb.
You have her contacted?
I did. Yeah,
Great.
I will, I'll contact her. And see.
Is that, so, no, hold on a second.
Yeah, you guys can't.
We can't do that.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
But you could suggest it, you could write up content and send it to Summer.
Okay.
Okay, all right, we'll do that.
Because I thought we were gonna address our response to the removal of the no right on red sign, because we were talking about that over email. And definitely multiple people said that they supported reinstating the no right on red. And we talked about writing a letter, I drafted a letter, I don't know, and looked at it again.
Well, I think we should probably bring it up in the context of those procedures that were put together on how to change things and try to understand why it didn't follow the procedures.
Right, that's established now, right? They didn't follow the appropriate procedures to remove.
Yeah, because there's,
Well, sounds
I
like.
mean, by rights, I think John should have reviewed that.
Yeah.
And it wasn't in the loop at all.
And it's also like in the code, right? So like they would have had to change the code. They should.
Because oh God, it must be a couple of years ago now, a process was created. Rather than everything that somebody requested, they go to their alderman and say, I want a stop sign here. And the alderman say, we want a stop sign here, and the stop sign got put in. Whether it was a good thing to do or not from a technical standpoint. And collectively, they decided that was not a good process. So they came up with a very specific process about how it was supposed to be handled. And there were different levels of review in it. And ultimately, a decision would be made that, yes, this can be done, or no, it can't. And this particular sign removals did not follow that process at all. It was just done. And I think that's really where we need to,
By request of the mayor, John, isn't that what you said?
yeah,
The mayor made a request to the head of DPW and said, I want the sign gone. DPW, related people took down the sign. I would suggest that if we have a real problem with this, for that particular location, we talk to the mayor. Now, for whatever reasons, take it from an old DPW head, the mayor made specific requests. I don't think we have any other mechanism other than to get a little bit more information as to what prompted that action.
I think the other responsible party is the common council. So the common council would have to change the resolution to change that sign. So
Was that the video that was posted? It was kind of hard to follow. being said, but there's a
I
link,
think Tanya
right?
sent it, I watched it too, to me, it sounded like Andrea said that engineering and DPW were recommending it, or suggest, had been considered. John, sounds like it didn't go to John, but to me, it sounded, it's in the code, and if they wanted to change the code, it would have to go through the common council. So I think that there's multiple parties that you could reach out to.
And the mayor might, you could just assume that the mayor didn't understand that it's in the code, but he somehow missed that. You could point out to him, actually, this is still in the code, so it requires the common council to change that law.
Could also ask for clarification.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I was just gonna ask, like,
What
What
prompted?
happened here?
Yeah, what happened?
That's exactly what.
That's really it.
yeah.
Why wasn't the process followed?
If something happened, what prompted this? Find out.
And, I mean, do we have an apparatus for review of what intersections should not be right on red? I mean, I'm very much of the opinion that we need to move away from right on red in cities, period. But is there some, or is it just some arbitrary decision that can be made? Sometimes for the good, right, like on Broadway, where they just put up the right on red signs, right? But do we know how they're making these decisions? Is there like something to look at? I think that would be handy.
The street design standards are pretty new, so there might be a learning curve there, and they do address signalization.
Okay. But we should ask the mayor.
Yes.
I agree.
Sharon, do you want to write that even?
Sure.
Thank you.
You said you had a time at
5:30.
Oh,
So it's gonna go
5:30.
till 5:30, but I do have a hard stop at 5:30 because there's a finance meeting I have to go to.
And I do have two. One of them's already here.
I remember, it's gotta be 10 years ago, Tom Polk was chair. And I don't remember if it was Tim Needham or
Right.
Greg, might have been Greg. We went and met with Mayor Dallow, talked about that intersection, and at that point, we had a no turn on red ever sign up at Clinton. And that caused quite the stir, because it was backing traffic up through the I-587 intersection. So it didn't stay that way for long and reverted back to the, what is it, 9 to 3 or something block?
You know, I'm gonna go back to this because I did put this in the email and it's just an interesting point that if you really want to do just a true urban experiment, you can go over to that signal over by where Access Road is. It is one of the, like, I think there's 3 or 4 actually true actuated.
One that's just hanging by itself, just.
You know, it works in seconds. It works. It's amazing. And you hit that thing and guess what happens down on the other side of the street? The traffic clears. It gives everyone a chance to clear the intersection. So why don't we just utilize that light that is already there? You can make it a short cycle, right? And it does not back up the traffic into the traffic circle. It absolutely does not. Like I'm not gonna say exactly why it is, I know this so well. Let's just say, I've tried this experiment circle. And it works like a charm. You just stand there and you watch the traffic dissipate. So again, what you're asking is to hold the traffic for 30 seconds to a minute. Again, like, and car drivers will go nuts about that, but would you rather hold it there or get into that confusing mess up there where people are trying to pull out? I mean, that's where we have to step in and say, okay, well, this is the smarter way to do it. So I'm just putting that out there. I welcome anybody in this room to go over and test my theory. So, thanks.
My observation is one of the biggest problems is people don't actually stop before they make the turn on red.
Oh, no kidding, yeah, I mean,
Yes, I mean,
yeah.
that's a citywide problem.
Yeah, it's an enforcement issue, you know? And I know that there's not enough manpower to, you know, monitor that all the time. That is a huge problem. All right, I think we hit more than I planned on in the old business section. Yeah. 12, 13 minutes. Briefly, there was a petition. Forgot, on Washington Avenue.
You mean the petition that is supposed to be putting a light under Thomas Hill? That petition? Yeah. So there is a petition that now has over 300 signatures, as close to 250 signatures. John was killed on Washington Avenue as he was legally trying to cross the street. And there has been an additional parking lot added, and there has been an extension of the trail, and there's been a way to get the train across the street, but there has been absolutely no way to help the human beings who are trying to cross that street. And that petition is calling on DOT to step up and do something about that corridor. And we are currently also bringing that petition. Petition is currently online. We are also bringing that petition to the people at Dutch Village. They're very interested in it. They want it in their tenant room. We're bringing it to Pick Your Pizza. We're bringing it to the hotels there. We're bringing it over to Quick Stop. We are making sure that all of the people who are using that corridor understand that people do give a crap. Okay. Yes, this is a very personal issue to me, and it is a very important petition. So that is moving forward right now. That corridor has also been identified not only by our legislative body as a very, very dangerous corridor, but also that particular spot has been identified in the Kingston City's own master plan, the bike ped master plan. Yeah. So it is high time that the city, or actually in this case, this would be more of a state issue, respond to the direct concerns of the citizens who are using these intersections. So that petition's online. You're welcome to sign it or review it. Yep, Ella wrote it. She did a fantastic job. We reviewed it together, and it's with my full approval that it's out there. The other thing that I would like to mention really quickly, if that's okay, is on the 19th of November, we once again will be hosting our 4th annual, well, here in Ulster County anyway, Day of Remembrance for victims of traffic violence. So this year, the plan is to assemble on Pine Grove Street at 3 o'clock on the 19th. We are going to place a ghost bike for Christine Trusco, directly requested by her family that the bike be placed there.
Where's?
So we're putting in the tradition of ghost bikes, it's gonna go as close as possible to where Christine was killed. So we are gonna put it in the islands, the medians.
Was that in the Y?
Over by the Y, yeah, oh yeah, I'm sorry, yeah, that she was struck, just a little bit forward of the YMCA. So we're gonna put, the bike close to there. And then with the support of UCAT, which is just phenomenal, we are getting a bus. And so we are going to take people, down to where, Sarah Edwards was hit in downtown Kingston, where she was hit by a bus as she tried to cross the street down by Work Street. People will be able to either follow the bus by foot or bike or be on the bus. We are asking that there not be any cars in the procession. We are definitely trying to highlight that this is for vulnerable road users. Anyone who has been affected by traffic violence is welcome, welcome, welcome. whether you've been hit, whether a family member's life has been lost, whether you're a first responder and your life has been turned upside down because you've had to over and over again go to these scenes. Okay, you are welcome to come and you will be embraced.
Okay, thank you.
No, I'm not done yet, John. So, you can come and be a part of this, and we are demanding that, attention be paid to the intersections this year. That is our ask. The last thing I would like to bring up to this committee is something that I brought up in email. And that is the support of the 25-mile-an-hour, change in the language in the law. The law was passed along with the complete stride advisory expansion, and the mayor has actually signed this in support, along with the county executive, along with many, many, many legislators. And also the Woodstock Complete Streets Advisory without reservation. So I'm going to ask this council, is there any reason why we would not be supporting this letter? I'm just putting it out there. I want to actually hear why we wouldn't support this.
It's
Mayor is
not-
supporting it.
It's not our place based on the enabling resolution.
What is the enabling resolution, please?
We are to advise the city.
That is advising the city.
That's making a request to the state. And
No, it is, we are supporting the reduction of speed, which we know is something that saves lives and is part of our mission as a
this
complete streets
entity is
advisory.
not authorized to make such. So,
I patently disagree with you, Tom, and I am.
well, you're welcome to do that.
Yeah,
It's an enabling resolution and it's the opinion of the mayor.
Well, then we're gonna have to relook at how this advisory works, because this is not how complete streets advisories are working around the
And
state. It's just
I
not
looked into
true.
Woodstock, and Woodstock's chair should not have signed that based on their enabling resolution.
So you told this to Kevin Smith and they're taking it back?
I don't know if they're taking it back, but Kevin's not the chair.
So Lou Kepler,
No, he's not the chair either.
okay, well, they're both on that advisory, so.
Yeah.
You know,
We've got-
I'm gonna
we've got-
disagree with this, and
We
if
have
this is
our
true, then
roles.
we're going to need to look at the way we set our policy. We really are gonna have to.
Well, you'll
relook
have
at
to
it,
go-
'cause This is not how it completes a streets advisory.
Well, you'll have to go take that up with the common council.
I will. Thank you, John.
Lost my train of thought.
You can move on now. Thank you.
Thing I wanted to bring up. We have any admin things?
No, I mean, the rules of procedure were added. The next month's meeting will be December 13th. Right now it's a sidewalk task force meeting, but also there'll be a working group meeting before that.
And you get to do.
It's not.
after. Oh, I just remembered what it was. The Kingston Rail Trail project is physically complete. And they will be having a grand opening ceremony probably next week. And I don't know where it's going to be yet, but that would involve the O&W Rail Trail from Washington Avenue to the Hurley Rail Trail. That's it had been delayed for a long time because they needed bearings to install the 3 bridges. And they finally got the bearings and they got the bridges in. So that's physically complete. And now it's just a matter of the formalities of officially opening it to the public. If you go over there and look at what they've done with the egress at Washington Avenue, it's designed to only accommodate traffic on the eastbound lanes. It's intentionally set up to not have traffic crossing to or from the westbound lanes of Washington. And they've also got signage there directing users to not cross Washington, to go up and use the controlled intersections.
Which is illegal, you cannot say that to cyclists, that signs and insult, sorry.
That's what's
That's where
there.
John was killed.
You know,
Ironically.
so
When is the opening of it?
we don't have a date yet. They're trying to get a date that works.
Who will be told when that is, so that we might. know?
There'll be a public announcement of some sort.
Often they're not, like those, if it's like, they kind of tell the people who they want to be in the
Well,
photo. I remember like I was involved in the.
It's a
Well,
county
let's go. I
project,
wasn't
so,
invited to the,
well, that's a county project, so I don't have maybe as much information about their project as what the city does.
I'm definitely gonna be there with a petition, I'll be volunteering for that petition like that. Sorry, thank
But,
you.
that will be opening up finally. It only took 40 years to get that section built. Alrighty, anything else? If not, we've got our hard deadline in a few minutes, so. Motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor? Anybody opposed?
Common council meeting starts here at 6:30. If anybody wanted to take that opportunity to speak